Welcome back to episode 7 of Lift You Up Inspiring Health Stories. I'm your host, Tamika Bickham, the founder of TB Media Group, but also your health and wellness matchmaker. Before I introduce you to today's guest, you know what I'm going to ask you to do. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube or connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love to see you there. But today's guest is a friend of mine, a fellow Cane. You're going to see a lot of those here, but also a journalist, a storyteller, and an all-around amazing person. Her name is Tania Leets, and she's the Senior Communications Specialist for Jackson Health System. Today, we are diving into changing marketing strategy and storytelling during a pandemic. Our physical, mental, and emotional health is not just a want. It is a need for happy lives and prosperous businesses. Lift You Up is the podcast where we share inspiring health stories from business owners who are fulfilling their purpose to live their healthiest lives and helping you do the same. From former TV reporter to marketing entrepreneur and content creator, I care about sharing stories that matter and stories that connect us. I'm your host, Tamika Bickham, your health and wellness matchmaker. So today I am joined by a good friend of mine who I've actually known for what I'd probably say 12, 13, 14 years now, Tania Leets. She is the Senior Communication Specialist for Jackson Health System. She's also an all-around amazing person. She is a journalist, she is a storyteller, and she is my friend. So thanks, Tania, for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So I want to start, obviously we have a lot to dive into, right? We both work in this marketing and communication space, you specifically for Jackson Health System, but right now I know we were talking yesterday offline about how we've really kind of just had to pivot strategies all of a sudden and deal with what's going on and what's current right now. But before we get there, I want to know your story, your path, and really what's led you to where you are now.
Okay, so I studied broadcast journalism at where I met you.
Go Canes!
Yes, go Canes. And I double majored in history as well. So my path basically after that took me into working for local government television. I started with the city of Coral Gables, working as an on-camera reporter, an editor and producer. Then from there, I went on to the city of Hialeah doing the same thing. And then I went into healthcare. So prior to Jackson Health System, I had no experience in healthcare, but I did have experience in local government and in journalism.
What ended up, do you feel like, led you to working in healthcare, and what's the experience been like for you from the marketing and communicator and journalist side of things?
Definitely an interesting experience, and it's been a beautiful one too. As I mentioned, since I didn't know anything about healthcare, it was definitely territory that was completely new to me. But I did have that journalism background and the storytelling, that you mentioned, and that has kind of led me to be able to excel at my job, because part of what I do in the public relations role at Jackson Health System is share those positive stories for the health system, whether that is a success patient story or whether that's, some innovative technology that we use in a procedure that saves somebody's life. Those are the kind of stories I've been able to share. And because of that journalism background, that is definitely a big thing that has kind of helped me with that skill set as I started learning more and more about the health industry and, the kind of different surgeries that happen and the life-saving procedures that we do, especially in a big public health system like Jackson.
Right. On this show, I think we're always talking about our why. And what we have in common is storytelling and journalism. So I guess kind of going back a little bit further, if it's back further for you, what is your why as far as what attracted you to broadcast journalism and why you've pursued this path? Has it always been something you've been interested in, or?
Yes, it definitely has. So it started in third grade when we had like a school broadcast morning news, and our teachers started picking out certain students to see if they were interested. And I was definitely not a very shy person growing up, so I jumped on it, and even from doing silly things like telling you what the weather was like, which we didn't have any graphics. It was just like a poster, like, hey, today's weather, and it's like a big sun, like sunny skies. And even saying what the lunch was for the day. And that was always something that I share with all my friends when I meet them. Like, it was so simple, but just knowing the enthusiasm and energy that went into broadcasting the news, that's when I knew that, that's kind of like a life's calling. So from there, I went into magnet school program at South Miami Middle for broadcasting. And that led to the magnet program at South Miami High in broadcasting as well, which then, obviously translated into me applying at the University of Miami specifically for broadcast journalism.
Awesome. So this has been part of your life since the third grade. I love it because I can't necessarily say the same about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's just one of those things that you look back on. I wish I can find those videos of me in elementary school. I would love to see them, even if they're on VHS. I'll find a way.
That would be cute. VHS. I want to talk about storytelling right now during COVID-19, something that none of us have experienced before. I guess the first question would be, how has your role changed now?
My role, particularly since it is still public relations, and I also oversee the agency that posts our social media, all of our focus became COVID-19. And what does that mean? That meant having the conversations within our department as to what those communications were going to look like from an internal point of view and an external point of view. And seeing even what we're telling our employees, should that be information that also translates to the community and letting them know, like, we are monitoring COVID-19, this is what's happening. And a lot of our employees, they are on social media as well as community members. So that is a quick form to get to them, whether that's Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. And as you've probably come to learn, like, not all individuals are on all those platforms. So that same information being aligned with what we're saying to our internal communications and external communications was a big part of my role, as well as like the team that I work with in media relations. And we really wanted to make sure that we were in tune with the news, gauging, even within our employees, like what they wanted to share on social media. And it's been a great opportunity to be able to feature their stories, who these frontline workers are, and even the people that are behind the scenes, the environmental workers, the people working in the labs. And it's just been great to be able to showcase a whole different side of the hospital that we didn't tap into before. In my role, I really wanted to give a face to who those people are. And people at the end of the day, when they look at content, they want to see content that they feel that they can relate to. They're getting the regular news from their local TV stations, right? But what can Jackson do to showcase, more of what's happening in our organization?
Yeah, and you had touched on exactly what I was going to ask, because again, we're going to watch the news. We see the numbers, the statistics, we see the difficult to watch stories, right? But then there are the positive stories. There's the uplifting stories. There are the people behind the masks and the people who are our healthcare heroes. So I could imagine, one, it's an extremely busy time for you and the team there. But two, you've gotten to get creative with the types of stories that you're telling, not only while working with media, but also owning on your own social media channels. Do you have any examples of, a story or a photo of content that you've created that you've put out there yourself on your channels and or your team that turned into a story that was picked up by media?
Absolutely. We had a few. Thankfully, the one that really stands out for me is a prayer picture that went viral. The minute I received that photo, I stopped everything that I was doing, and I definitely told the team, and hey guys, I just received this photo. This photo is it. Like, this is the most impactful photo that I've seen, that we're able to showcase. I asked my other media team member, like, hey, help me, put this out there with the media. So she tapped onto her media list and I tapped onto mine. And it was just like immediately, like, people were like, it was during a time that there was just so many negative news and so many sad news coming out of the country of just deaths and just very like a dark cloud of news. And in that moment, we were able to give hope to not just our community, but the entire country. It really wasn't something that was planned. Like, they had just started doing these prayers in the morning where one of their team members said, you know what, guys, I know that we have so much going on, but let's just take a moment. Let's pause, let's take a breather. And how about we start doing little prayer circles? And that's exactly how it happened.
Mhm.
And when you really think about it, although you're able to portray that sign of hope, there's also some sadness that comes with it, knowing like each person in that photo is praying for something different.
Right.
They all have a story to tell. So it was a beautiful moment, that we were able to showcase, and everyone loved that photo. And we were very proud of that moment. And after that, like, we were able to not just put it out there on a national level or international with the news media outlet, but we even started using it in our marketing campaigns. Like, it is currently like our Facebook cover photo, it is our LinkedIn cover photo, or Twitter for our Jackson Health System platforms.
That's amazing. And I think, you hit it up right on the head. It's impactful, and not only the image itself, but the story behind it. In the midst of this craziness that our healthcare heroes are, facing on a daily basis, like, let's take this moment to pause. So I love that. I think it really speaks to the power of owning your own story, because this picture came from you, or the hospital, the health system. It's really, having that awareness and thinking, hey, this is a moment that we can capture and share with other people and inspire and connect. So I love that.
Absolutely. And after that picture, we had a bunch of different media requests wanting to talk to whoever was part of that photo. Another example that I can give you was, there was our child life therapist, started drawing quotes around the campus using chalk, and it was just everywhere. And we started getting feedback from our employees that they loved it, because a lot of the chalkboard signs and messages were leading into the garage as they were leaving their work shift, or after working 12 hours or more. Being able to read those positive messages, was very impactful for them. It just made them happy, just kind of gave them that extra push to say, okay, I'm doing what I need to do right now and stay focused. And I just have to stay positive that we're all going to get through this, as a health system. So that was another example that, once we received those photos, we sent it out to the media so that they can also focus on the positive things that are happening in our community.
I think sometimes maybe people see this content that's on social, or see the photos that are out there in the media, and don't trust it and say, oh, well, they created that for the photo. But it sounds like how you're explaining it, you're really treating this as a journalist, right? Like, your ears to the ground and hearing from employees saying, hey, this is what's going on. We really love that these messages are here. And it's not the other way around. Can you kind of speak to that? Whereas, like, somebody might see, right, marketing, we're here to sell something, right? So they might think marketing photos are, created or planted for the purpose of that marketing initiative. But that's not the case here.
It's not the case. And one of the things I can say about that is that these photos that have been received are taken on a phone. So these are not even professional photos that were done to like even be able to stage. It's only through the contacts that we've had and the connections I have with certain employees that I consider not just my colleagues, but my friends, that when they shared them with me, they say, look, Tania, I'm just sharing it. I don't know, what you think about it, but I just thought like, maybe you would like it. And they're just thinking on the minimal, right? Oh, hopefully Tania sees this picture and she'll post it on social and I see it and I'm thinking the big picture. All these images have been, for the most part, probably about 90%, all from the staff.
That's amazing. So we talked about two of the stories that you've shared on social media. I saw this photo and I love this one. Can you talk about the story behind that and what's happening in this photo?
Yes. So I love that photo. That was another one that once I was able to see it, when the pictures were sent my way, it really stood out. Why? Because this guy, he is a nurse from Jackson South Medical Center. What happened was that each of the campuses, we have three main campuses: Jackson Memorial, Jackson South, Jackson North. And each of those campuses held what we called a hero's salute. So the 6:30 a.m. shift and the 6:30 p.m. shift were received by the leadership of those campuses with signs, you are heroes, I thank you so much. So that particular employee was coming into his shift and everyone's just walking through, that walkway and, thank you so much, like we appreciate it, and everyone has smiles, and this guy just comes running through that hallway. And our staff photographer was actually able to capture that moment in time. And it was beautiful. I mean, to me, the way that I interpreted that photo is he's running a marathon and he's almost there at the finish line.
Why is this type of storytelling, content sharing, especially now, would you say so important? And how do you think it makes people feel, whether they work for Jackson Health System or they're on the outside?
So in seeing these kind of pictures, I think that it just kind of gives a glimpse of hope during these times, but also showcases the humanity of these individuals, Like we said, who are the people behind the mask? I feel like it's been amazing to see all of the recognition that they've been receiving. Everything from the fire stations, doing their little caravans, the police stations, everyone, because at the end of the day, if they were to be involved in an unfortunate situation, they could end up in these hospitals and they could be, at the hands of these workers that you are now seeing and getting to know on a more humane level.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So one of the themes that I'm hearing in all of your storytelling is a lot of the photos and ideas that you're getting are from employees of the health system. So I work with clients across all different industries, from real estate to legal to some healthcare as well. And we were talking about this offline the other day, that if no matter what industry you were in, you had to pause all of your content and come up with a new strategy. So for somebody else, maybe another business, maybe it's in the healthcare space, what would you recommend as far as how they can continue to create content that is not tone deaf, that is sensitive, that is relevant right now, but also connects with people in the way that you guys are doing so well at Jackson?
Well, I would say, early on when we had to put everything on pause, it was something completely new for everyone. We were creating monthly social media content calendars. For us, it was very important to just, again, like be in tune with what's happening today, what's happening in the world, what's happening in our immediate community. So a lot of our content is based on that currently, as we're trying to transition into having a balance as to, what that next step is, or going back to a certain normalcy of the content that we used to preview before, such as patient testimonials. Now that elective surgeries have resumed, that has been one thing that we are trying to figure out how to best approach that, and tell people we're here for you. All this COVID-19 stuff has happened and is still continuing. However, we're still here to serve you in other ways. So my recommendation is just, depending on the industry that you're in, you also have to weigh in like what people want to know and what people should know. It always seems that like when you have a certain industry or certain organization that doesn't it doesn't feel like they're in tune with reality, that
Yeah,
almost turns
yeah,
you off.
yeah,
At least
yeah.
for me, it almost turns you off because, at the same time, you have to be sensitive that, there's a big thing happening bigger than us. There's a pandemic, but just having to find that balance, I think would be the best approach, because people want to know that you're there for them and that you understand um, what they're currently living in.
You are almost have built-in journalists throughout the health system, right, who are capturing these moments and sharing it with the communications team. Is there any tips to maybe how a CEO or business owner can maybe work with those within their organization to maybe just work on capturing moments? We aren't necessarily using our staff photographer, but a lot of these photos are taken on a cell phone.
Absolutely. And a lot of times, you won't always be able to get media coverage. So we've been finding ways to be able to capture those moments for media. And that is just as effective at times because, because of all the news happening all at once, they can't just, be focused on your particular organization or company. And that is definitely a big recommendation I have. Like, don't wait for the media, for you to just pitch to the media. Like, feed them content too. And that's one of the things that personally, even when I send out press releases, I try my best to send them a link with visuals, whether that's b-roll, or images, and that helps to tell the story better than just having to read through a press release. Aside from that, just knowing your staff, like, know what everyone enjoys. If you know that there's a particular staff member that loves to do videos or that loves to take pictures, in their free time, tap into those people. Like, that can definitely be an individual that can tell a different angle and tell a different story. We had nurses week, and we had hospital week. There was an opportunity to listen to what other departments started showcasing in terms of like their proposal for ideas. We said, okay, let's give them this outlet to be able to have some sort of TikTok challenge. So the TikTok challenge was the song Hammer Time. And it was incredible. It was so funny, just to see these people that you see them as so like serious and, just kind of focus on the roles. And they had so much fun with it. And it was also a way to showcase all of our different facilities across the health system, not just the main campuses, but also the clinics, the healthcare workers in our corrections facilities, etc. So that was really interesting, just finding new ways to be innovative and kind of being in tune with your different demographics, because even from a marketing point of view, you want to be able to tap into different demographics.
I think sometimes it's about taking some risks, giving new things a try, so that you do have that opportunity to connect with more people, right? In marketing, we always say you have to go where your audience is. And I think even when you're taking risks, right, like this is definitely a serious time and it's a serious topic, but at the end of the day, we're all human and we need those light moments where we can de-stress and we can laugh and just have a moment that doesn't feel so heavy. So I think people appreciate that.
Absolutely. And on that note, one of the images I think I sent you is we had a group of staff members over at Jackson North with red capes on. And those individuals participated in a TikTok video, and they wrote to my colleague who oversees internal communications and said, hey, we love doing a TikTok challenge. Just so you know, the young man at the center of the photo, he just lost his grandfather to COVID-19 on Monday. And you think to yourself exactly what you just said, yes, this is a serious time, but we just gave that employee an outlet for him to kind of let loose a little bit amidst everything that he's personally going through. And I thought that to me was very rewarding to listen to, that we were able to do that for our employees in a different way.
For you personally, what's been during this time one of the stories that has really touched you the most?
On a personal side, thankfully I have not had any family member impacted by this. However, one of my best friends, as I mentioned, she's a frontline nurse at Jackson South, and she's a single mom. She has a 9-year-old that is my ring bearer, when I get married. So I've seen her grow up since high school, and seeing her as a mom and now seeing her as this like frontline nurse and hero has completely changed my view on her. Like, I just respect her so much more. I love her that much more, just the compassion that she has for her life's calling. She could have walked away, and she didn't. She's there. She's so brave. She has so much courage, and I love that. Like, I've been so inspired by that. I tell everyone about her, just because you almost like, you're so proud of that friend. To me, that is how it's impacted me personally, just being able to appreciate her more, because yes, I knew she was a nurse before, of course, but now I know what she really does. And now I understand how much she loves her career choice, because it's not for everyone, and that's how it's personally affected me. And early on, when all of this was happening and things were very scary, even talking to her on the phone, I would feel like, oh my gosh, okay, whoosh, I got her on the phone. She's okay. She's alive, like, she's healthy. And that was for a while, like that scary moment of like, my friend, am I going to lose my friend? And that would be for me like the most impactful. Like, I even get teary-eyed talking about it.
No, I love that, and thank you for sharing. And I think you have a nice picture too that we can share of you guys. I think you might have posted it on LinkedIn. I might have seen that.
Well, she's a very shy person, so she actually doesn't have any social media platform. And we've had so many opportunities, to showcase our frontline workers in media opportunities. And I thought, well, what is something that I can do for her, being who she is, and us wanting to kind of stay away from stock photography when it came to creating graphics. So Mother's Day was coming around, and I said, okay, Patty is a frontline nurse. She's a mom. Like, what better way to, show her some sense of appreciation from us as Jackson, for being who she is. Like, she's not the type to want to get any sort of credit. She's very low key. While, other people are not as shy as her and they take on other opportunities, I wanted to showcase her. So I proposed her as the Mother's Day post, and I was so happy that, my leadership said, yes, absolutely. We would love to put, again, leveraging COVID-19, but humanizing it. Let's not use stock photography. Why not? Like, let's use an actual frontline nurse that is a mom. And it was well received. And I think that, at least for me, it wasn't just part of my job of figuring out a Mother's Day post. It was, for me, a token of gratitude to her.
Tania, is there anything else that you want to add that you feel like I didn't ask you?
No, I mean, thank you so much for the opportunity. Like, I love being able to, connect with my colleagues from UM. And I'm very proud of you and the work that you're doing as well. And, if there's anything else that you need in the future, absolutely, you guys can find me on LinkedIn, Tania Leets at LinkedIn. I'm always here to help, and with any questions regarding public relations, healthcare, how we develop our media relations. I'm very happy to help anyone.
Tania's an amazing resource, so I'll make sure to link to all of her information below in the show notes so you can be sure to connect with her there. And just so you all know too, I mean, Tania, she is such a gracious, go with the flow person. As she mentioned earlier, we've all been impacted in some way, but she also had to postpone a wedding that was supposed to happen during all of this. So, I know that's a bummer, but I know you're kind of just taking it in stride and one day at a time.
Absolutely. Thank you. I mean, at the end of the day, we just, we want our family members and our loved ones to feel safe and healthy, and everything else can wait.
Exactly. So I love that you have such a positive attitude and are telling these amazing stories of our healthcare heroes and helping other people, because at the end of the day, I think we should all be storytellers. So I think everything you had to offer and say was really awesome. So I'm going to include all of your contact information below, and I will definitely talk to you soon. Thank you, Tania. I hope you go ahead and connect with Tania. She has a ton of knowledge when it comes to communications, marketing, storytelling. Pick her brain, connect with her. She knows what she's doing. What I love so much about this conversation is just hearing from her the stories that she's told at Jackson Health that have impacted her. At the end of the day, stories make us all human. I'm always talking about that. And there is a way, as you heard from her, to do it right now that is meaningful, it's relevant, it's relatable, and it's important. So whether you are a business owner in a totally different industry, you work in healthcare, you're a marketer or CEO, I hope you took some valuable information away from what she had to say and can implement some of those steps in your marketing strategies, even though we're going through such uncertain times. Until next time, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I look forward to seeing you back again. And again, don't forget, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, connect with me on LinkedIn, and leave me a review. I'd love to hear from you. Stay happy, stay healthy.